This is Tom Dillon, the Lifetime Liberal, and today is Wednesday, January 25th, 2017. The title of this rant will be, Things Will Be Getting Much Worse. Now, 3 or 4 weeks ago, Mr. Minority's administration, his handlers behind the scenes, already knew what their talking points were going to be. They already knew what their diversionary tactics were going to be. They already knew what policies they were going to come out with, and the concept of the whole thing was to overwhelm the press, overwhelm the American people. And while we're taking a look at this shiny object back here, we're screwing the American people back here on things that aren't being watched as closely. So the problem with that is that there was this huge women's march on Saturday, and Mr. Minority got in a little kerfuffle because the crowd size was much greater than his crowd size, and he went into a big hissy fit. And so there was a lot of pushback right from the beginning. And also was the fact that on Saturday afternoon, instead of even talking about the Women's March, Sean Spicer, the administration spokesperson, came out with orders directly from Mr. Minority to refute this type of stuff, especially on the crowd size at the inauguration, which was easily debunked. But he came out exceptionally pompous, exceptionally arrogant, and was incredibly deceitful. And again, that was based on Mr. Minority being upset that the crowd size, he thought that the crowd size was bigger. You notice where his emphasis on what's important lies, and that's what is going to be a telling point of this administration. Now, right now, and even going into this, we knew that Mr. Minority's approval ratings were in the tubes in terms of incoming presidents going all the way back to President Truman. And what it appears now is that he is going after to satisfy his base of people, which is not that great in terms of, he's going to build a wall. He made that statement. He is going to build the Keystone pipeline. Now, he did make one concessionary thing, saying that it had to be with U.S. steel. Let's see how well that plays out, because maybe all that steel's already been bought. He was going to have an immigration freeze on those coming from Arab or Muslim countries, North Africa, and the East, Saudi Arabia, well, all those countries right around there, especially Iran. Iran's Persian, though. And he's also talking about coming out with something very soon on the deportation of people of immigrants here, immigrants here who came here for a better life. Now, he's doing this because this is what appeals to his base. He has to get traction with his base because the pushback against him has been very strong, and they need to break out from this. So not only that, just in the last 2 days, gag orders to the Environmental Protection Agency, to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, and to the Park Service. I think the Park Service pointed out something about the CO2 level is higher now than it has been in the last 650,000 years, and they had to delete that shit. Because they don't want that bad news to go out. And of course, the one other thing on that, they don't want bad news to go out. Now, they also have a hiring freeze, and because they said the employment of, the government employment is way out of control, when it has been proven that, the percentage of employment and the number of employees in the government has gone down again since World War II. So it's at its lowest level now ever. Again, a diversionary tactic. Again, the idea is that he's playing to his base, because remember that 2/3 of Republicans who voted for Mr. Minority believe that unemployment went up in the Obama administration. It went down from 10% to 5%. We had 70 months of uninterrupted growth, the longest that's ever gone along. 17% of Republicans only 17% of Republicans were aware that the uninsured is at a historic low. And a majority of Republicans think the crime rate has gone up. And of course, it has been going down steadily, I believe, since the early 1990s. So the pushback needs to be constant. It needs to be unrelenting. It needs to be assertive. And in many instances, the press needs to predict ahead of time what diversionary tactics they're going to go through and bring, preempt Mr. Minority's administration. Now, one other thing was on the voter fraud issue. And Mr. Minority came out today, says that we're going to investigate voter fraud. So again, let's look at this little shiny object that we know doesn't even exist, because we had voter recounts, I believe, in 4 states, and they said that there was nothing in those 4 states on voter fraud whatsoever, while Mr. Minority maintains 3 to 5 million illegal voters. So the thing that we need to be aware of, again, that the pushback needs to be constant, it needs to be vehement, it needs to be assertive, and we need to go after him, because what he has done, forget that term deplorables. He didn't assemble a group of deplorables to work in his administration. He assembled an atrocious group of extremely right-wing individuals who care nothing about the environment, who care nothing about people of color, who care nothing about women, and who care nothing about the poor, and will be relentless in their own way to try and get their way. So this is a fight that we must go after now, and let's just say forevermore.